Robyn, it's lovely to talk to you. You have come in as somebody who sees the whistleblower's importance in the history of New Zealand at this crucial time, and you have made a massive contribution. What you've done is said, we're going to support this man as he is taken through to the wrongful trial by the Ministry of Health. And we, being all New Zealanders, whether you're jabbed, whether you're unjabbed, whether you're supporting any political persuasion, whatever it is, we can all come together under the umbrella you've created. So tell us a little bit more about your vision to support Barry Young in his quest to get the real data about the jabs out to all New Zealanders. Robyn, what's your vision?
What we really need is more people. We need a critical mass situation of people who know and understand how important this issue is. I believe this is the best shot we've had in the last, sorry for using that word, in the last 4 years of actually getting some traction on the truth. And of course, we alienate a lot of people with truth. But we just keep going and keep trying to get the word out, and people are coming on board slowly. And but after 4 years of battle, those of us who are awake are sometimes battle weary, and that's another reason to come together and support one another. And I've been a whistleblower. I don't think I've ever told you that story, but I know what it takes, and you need support, big time support.
We'll get into the story of your whistleblowing later on in this little talk, but what are you doing around Barry Young, who you see, as you say, as this critical figure around which all New Zealanders can now align ourselves in order to get the government to confess to us the real truth of the COVID-19 jab rollout? What do you see and what do you want in this upcoming next appearance on April the 23rd for Barry Young?
Okay, I imagine that there are literally thousands of people out there having sleepless nights because they're sitting on information and maybe watching what's happening in Barry's situation and Dan Picknell and Irene. It's not something you do lightly, coming forward with truth. But going back to my situation, I you hope you never find yourself in that position, but if you should do, I recognized it as an opportunity for me to make a difference. That was necessary. And I reasoned that the price to be paid for not coming forward was an absence of peace forever. And that's a big price.
That's exactly what Barry has said. He had no choice in a way. He was sitting on this data that showed excess mortality in New Zealand. It's government, it's Ministry of Health data. They've never denied the truth. So let's just take us, first of all, to the practical side. We're going to have picnics on the 21st, is that right, around New Zealand
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
support Barry with this appearance. We'll get the housework out of the way first, and then I want to dive more deeply into your story of whistleblowing. So what's happening for the picnics, Robyn?
This will be the third. This will be the third picnic in support of Barry Young. The first one, which was held in December, where I saw you in Parliament, was originally going to be simply a get together in Picton, because that's what I've been doing on a regular basis at the end of the year, under no banner whatsoever other than truth, just to get people together so that we can connect, have the conversations that we can't have in a normal course of a day with others, and just recognize that our strength is in our connectedness. So that was going to be just another get together at the end of the year. Um, and it kind of, because it coincided with Barry's second court appearance, it was like the day before, it just seemed like an opportunity to spread out across the country. And people got quite excited. We had 15 venues there to support Barry. People made signs. They got really excited. It became a bit of a festival. So I was really encouraged by that. So we thought, well, I thought, well, let's keep going with this. At the critical milestones of this process in Barry's situation, we will get together. We will rally support. We will make signs and we will make a bloody noise. And that's what we have to do. Just get out there and get people saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So for the 21st, again, just making a noise. In Wellington, I've teamed up with a man called Bryce, who has these very recognisable red and white signs that you'll see just about everywhere around the court and in the Wellington area anyway. So we're going to do a pop-up before the picnic in a very visible place. And then we'll get together and there'll be passers-by. We're making it very public and people may get curious because they do. And so every connection we make is just it's a stone dropped in the river, I guess, in the lake that ripples somewhere else, hopefully.
That's a lovely metaphor. So, where is the picnic on the 21st that you've organised? And we want them to be in venues around New Zealand as well, if that's possible. Where is the one that you've organised, Robyn?
We haven't made it public yet, but we will when we get more on board, and it is happening. It's at Avalon Park, and we now have 5 people on board. But I was waiting until after Easter because it's a bit of a distraction for people to start thinking about another milestone. So we're aggressively marketing now, and people are coming forward and saying, yes, we want to do this again. So I'm very encouraged by that.
It's such a lovely idea. I know in that first round of picnics in December, there were people in Auckland all greeting and meeting. For example, baby Will's parents went along, and a lot of people contacted me and said, it was so nice to go to the picnic and see baby Will and talk about the heroism of Barry Young in telling this truth. So it is something very positive when a lot of Kiwis are feeling quite stressed at the moment by what's going on, by a government that is not being clear and transparent with us by any means. And let's face it, a government that has not lifted one finger to get the truth out there that Barry is offering, the Ministry of Health truth, or telling the Ministry of Health to do the right thing and share the people's data with us. Okay, so that's 2 days before the actual appearance. On the day of Barry being in court, um, we will all gather outside the court or inside the court, and there's just a natural energy to cheer him on. What have you felt at the other court appearances, Robyn?
I was at the December one in the courtroom, and really quite amused in a way, I guess, to see 9 representatives from the government there against us. You know, it's a David and Goliath situation, isn't it?
Very much.
You know, I know that feeling because of my experience as well, and so I can smile because I know the outcome. So, but I couldn't wait. I had my whistle under my jacket and I couldn't wait. The moment I was off the premises, I blew it with all gusto and others did too. And it's just like coming together as a show of strength. And this is what I like about the picnics and the pop-ups and spreading out around the country. We're saying, hey, we're not going to take this lying down. We are going to push back as hard as we can, and we ain't going away anytime soon. So get used to it.
And it's just going to spread and spread. So if people want to start a picnic in their area and honor that, what can they do? Where can they contact you, Robyn?
There is a Telegram group called A New Hope. I can be direct messaged on that as well. I have sent out, I think you've seen the flyer recently that has that link on it, and that's gone far and wide. That's gone, and everyone I send it to sends it off to somewhere else. Again, that's the ripple effect. So that's the only point of contact at this point in time. We are working on a website, but haven't quite got that up and running yet.
And I want to say, although we won't say the names, there are some surprisingly good speakers you've lined up already for Wellington. I happen to know one. He's a friend of mine. He'll be very good to listen to. We'll tease that one, Robyn. We might talk about that just before the 21st, because I think you know who I mean.
I
But
do.
there are some good speakers coming for that picnic. And and for you personally, before I move on to your story, tell me your reaction personally to the man that Barry Young is when you've met him, when you've talked with him, when you've felt where his heart is for doing this for all of us in New Zealand. What's your feeling about the man himself?
I would have to say that his moral compass is very much alive and well, and and he does have a conscience, a social conscience. He has a sense of social justice, and that's what it takes. Apart from the downside of not doing something, if you look at all the positives, I believe it's in everybody given the right support, actually. So, and what I'd like to say to anyone who's considering coming forward is that we are so there for you. We are embracing you and cheering you on and giving you every bit of support that we possibly can. And we'll get there. But the only way to get there, of course, is if we can actually swell those numbers. So that's what we're hoping for.
That is so true. That's the call we need to put out. If you are sitting on information and thinking, I should speak out, I want to speak out, Barry Young has said to me, he sleeps soundly at night because he knows he's done the right thing. The second point there, Robyn, is these people will be the ones who are remembered in history, the brave ones, the ones like Julian Assange will be the heroes. The Barack Obamas, the Bushes, they'll all be forgotten as the criminals they are. But, Julian Assange is the one also who still suffers. When we can win with a whistleblower in New Zealand, we can move on to the world scene and stand with Julian. And I recommend to everybody the Julian Assange movie, by the way. We'll put a link to that below. So whistleblowers across the world, it's your time. Please step forward. And if you want to contact me, it's liz.gunn@freenz.org. Let's talk about your story of whistleblowing and what has made you so determined and so brave yourself, because at the heart of all whistleblowing is courage. What is your story, Robyn?
It does go back a wee way to when I was still working. I was living in Nelson. There was a tragedy in the workplace. I maybe shouldn't go into too much detail, but there was a tragedy, and it was to do with bullying. And generally speaking, when I'm incensed by a situation, it is noticeable. So, and so because I had been in a position where I knew a lot of what had been going on, I've been in meetings taking notes, but not just blindly taking notes. I was observing quite closely what was going on. And so there were a series of meetings with this person who had had a very good track record in his employment for 9 years, and suddenly the whole thing turned, and it was clearly a strategy to remove him from that environment. Well, not the environment, just the place itself. And they no longer wanted him there, and they were using performance management to achieve that end. And it was very obvious to me these series of meetings were going nowhere. It was just a grinding down process.
Mm.
So I was very concerned about that. I didn't know this person. He'd come in from stress leave to attend these meetings, and so unfortunately, the tragedy was that after 4 meetings, he actually hanged himself.
Oh,
And yeah, so that really did cause me a lot of grief and a lot of trauma. So, and it was obvious. So, but because of that, I was seen as a threat as well. So, so the heat came on me, and then I contacted the coroner because I had information that I thought might be helpful to the inquest whenever it was going to be. No vendetta, just a sharing of information so I could move on. And they asked me to send a report, and they would get the police to contact me. And that all happened. And I made the statement, and I walked out of there feeling 2 tons lighter. So then I went back to where the pressure was on me in this workplace, and announced that I'd made a statement to the police, whereupon I was told that was serious misconduct and I would be dismissed. So I said, well, good luck. I wasn't sure of my ground, to be honest, but so they did dismiss me. Um, I'm sure they sort of regret that now because I had ways of countering that, and I found a way to do that without getting a lawyer. And so I took them to court. So 3 years went by, and personal grievance, well, unjustified dismissal actually. and took them to court, won the case. And although it wasn't a magic bullet for truth, it was a nasty wake-up call for those who are feeling complacent that the judicial system is geared in such a way that people like me won't take them on. Well, they obviously underestimated what can be done with support. And so anyway, we got that exposed, and even better than that was a few months later, because of the publicity, it was included in a story about bullying on mainstream television. So that was good.
Really?
Yeah,
Gosh, that was when mainstream media used to tell some truths.
exactly. Yes,
What was the program, Robyn?
it was. Strangely enough, it was funded by New Zealand On Air. It was called Bullies, and it was a three-part series about workplace, cyber, and school bullying. And I was approached because it became known that I'd been through this situation because of the publicity. I was approached to see if I would be interested in having my story included, to which I responded, hell yeah, because that way, what was contained within the Nelson area would have been, well, it did, it went widely around the country. But that would have been forgotten about now because that was 2014, but it can be maybe resurrected. Mm.
My dream is that media again, the media, mainstream media that tells the truth at all costs, no matter what the pressure from government or from big corporates, we tell the truth. That media in New Zealand would break the whole dam that we're in, burst the dam. But the other thing that would burst the dam is thousands of people with your level of courage. 3 years of your life, Robyn, you must have gone through hell at times. Really had to dig deep, I bet.
Yeah, well, I did it mostly on my own. But because I was isolated in Nelson, I had no family, and I was quite new to the area. And the other thing you find is, well, yeah, people who would otherwise support you, they consider what they have to lose before they are seen to be supporting you. So that was done covertly, but they were there. I had a few tools in my toolbox because of the the age that I am or was then, and also I'd had some legal background, not as a lawyer, but as a legal executive. And so I knew how to string affidavits together. I knew how to read regulations and acts and things. So I fumbled my way through with the help of the community law centre until we got to the point where the interns couldn't keep up. But but it was pretty amazing actually. There was some incredible heaven sent people who came into that space who were inspired by, and it is inspiring to see someone holding a beacon of truth, and they wanted to do something to help, and they came forward and contacted me out of the blue and offered support, and that was how we got it over the line. It was amazing.
It's incredible. And I think the other thing driving you forward was that man taking his life, that his life was not going to be in vain. It was not going to be lost at the hands of bullies. I've just had a case like this. I stepped in with a family whose son who's on the spectrum is being horrifically bullied. And it was basically a gardening job, but a man called David was really bullying and showing no compassion. And he was very close to, he was talking about suiciding as well. And I tried to say to their HR person, do you know how serious this is? Your lack of compassion, your lack of humanity. Now, we managed to keep him in the job for a while, but he's chosen now to move on, not
Mm,
without great stress to him. I just tell you that story because the bullying culture in New Zealand, Robyn, lies at the heart of so much pain in this country. It stops people having courage to come forward. It stops people being who they really are and to blossom. It's epitomized in Once Were Warriors. There's a reason that film came from this country.
mm,
And it might be a more white version of bullying, But it's still that level of bullying, isn't it, when you're going through it? It's horrific until you stand up and say, I'm not scared of you and I'll tell the truth anyway. It gives you something that no one can take away from you when you do it. Would you agree with that, Robyn?
Oh, definitely. I did find, especially having, well, I've always had a fairly strong sense of social justice anyway, but having been through that when I still had a few more years of working life ahead of me, whenever anybody threw their weight around, especially with somebody else, I stepped in.
That's great. As you're doing now for Barry and for the whole of New Zealand.
Yeah, well, someone has to do it, I guess, and I'd like that to become contagious.
I'm looking forward to seeing you again in Wellington, and I recommend to everybody to join Robyn at the Wellington picnic and go up. And while you may shake Barry's hand and say, what a hero, Robyn, in your quiet, supportive role, you too have a heroism in you that has made you invaluable in this whole quest we have for getting the Ministry of Health data out. That's why I wanted to do this interview. And what was your reply to me when I first said, can I talk to you on screen? Do you remember what you said, Robyn?
I think it was like I'm more of a behind the scenes girl, really. But yeah, I I guess none of us do this alone, though, And I've said many times in various circles that we each have a part to play in getting our country back. And each of us is wired in a certain way. We have certain experiences and skills and talents and abilities. And so, if we were all working in our strengths and with this focus, we would move mountains. And, some are made to be beacon holders, and Barry and others that we know are doing that. Yes, there is a personal price to pay, but I guess, none of this is going to come easy. Getting our country back is never going to be an easy walk in the park. But, we need to put some skin in the game and know that when the victory comes, we have played our part.
I'm speechless. I can't top that. It's perfection. What you just said is perfection. Robyn, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Wellington on the 21st of April for the picnic, and then on the 23rd at the Wellington District Court with us all supporting Barry with our whistles going strong outside.
That's
Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you, Liz. Great to talk to you and look forward to seeing you. All the best.
Lovely.